Let's talk about my favorite topic, and that is combining yoga and technology. This is video 2 in the Virtual Yoga Teacher Challenge, and I'm so glad you've made it back for video 2. If you have not watched video 1, where I talk about the mistakes, myths, and misconceptions that yoga teachers make in regards to teaching virtual classes, go and check that video out. You'll gain a lot from it, I promise you. So today we are here to talk technology. And if you forgot who I was or we haven't met yet, this is the first time you're seeing a video. I'm Ashley, I'm a yoga studio owner, yoga teacher trainer, yoga teacher, yoga everything. I have a lot of fun with creating a business out of yoga, and I help other yoga teachers do the same. But I make it understandable in bite-sized pieces, and that's what this series is for. So today we're talking technology, and you might be thinking, oh, it's so overwhelming. There's all these pieces. There's all this stuff. Oh my gosh, there's gadgets and gizmos and who's it's and what's it. Okay, I get it. Yes, things are confusing. And it's often the unknown that's creating this frustration or fear. The unknown. What is this? I don't know how this is going to go. What if everything just, stops working? What if my internet cuts out? There's so many things that's what if. But there's so many things that could go right too. So take a moment. If you have a pen and piece of paper, you can also push pause on this when I tell you a prompt to write some things down. Instead of saying, what if something bad happens, take a moment and write down a few, what if something good happens? It's, what if I fill my classes? What if people love my virtual class? What if everything goes right? So write those down and just take a moment to do that. So yes, technology and combining that with yoga practices can seem overwhelming because it's another element that we were never really officially taught in yoga teacher training, or really at all, unless you went to school for this kind of stuff, or if you're really interested in it. In that case, you probably are not watching this video series. You're probably out doing it already. The word technology, as defined by the internet, says the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially in industry. And to me, those words do not scream yoga. Like industry, application, scientific knowledge, like that's not very yogic. It doesn't sound soft. It doesn't sound magical. It doesn't have that transformative feeling. So how can you combine technology and yoga? Well, the great thing is that two separate things that seem seemingly different are the best thing to complement each other. So yoga and technology can become best friends. They don't have to have all the same attributes or characteristics, but they can connect well. And here is how. There's a lot to choose from. Which microphone should I use? Which tripod? Do I need a tripod? Do I need a camera? Do I use my phone? How do I do this? And other yoga teachers are doing so many different things. Everybody's technology is a little bit different. And you've just got to pick a style. You've got to pick a way and just go for it. So there are loads of options when it comes to what kind of technology you should use, but here's where you're going to get started and here's how you're going to get started. Use what you have. If you are watching this video series on something like a cell phone or a laptop, you have exactly everything that you need to get started. To push the record button. That's all you need. You need a finger and a record button, and you go like that, and you're on. And yes, that moment right before you hit play, or right is the same as right before you walk into the doors to teach a yoga class. If you have not yet taught in person, you will get that sensation at some point in your life. Right before you walk in, you know you have to start. It's this sort of take a deep breath. Nervousness is okay, and it actually shows that you care. So being nervous is a good thing. You can have that conversation with your student or students on the virtual class and say, you know what, I'm a little bit nervous about this and I haven't done this before, but I really want to show up for you and I'm excited to be here. When you say to others and yourself that I'm excited, it's the same feeling of being nervous and anxious. When you say I'm excited, it changes something in your brain, your mindset. So although your body's going to feel the same, you might be a little sweaty, you might be a little shaky, your voice might tremble, but that's the same feeling of excitement. So switch it around. You're not nervous, you're not anxious, you're excited. So we're going to use what we have. And in time, as you progress, then you can upgrade. And I'll talk about those upgrades in a moment. One of my favorite quotes from one of my yoga teachers was, "You've gotta suck before you can shine." That's for anything. You've gotta show up and be a beginner, really bad at it, before you can be really good at it. You don't all of a sudden go from 0 to master at a skill. Ever in any industry, in any concept. It's never that way. So you've got to show up and be not so great. And it's honestly probably better than you think it is. You don't give yourself enough credit, but you've got to not be so great in order to learn and fumble and get through it and be better as time goes on. Now I want to go through the 3 things that you will need to teach yoga online. Number 1 is video. You need something to capture your video. It could be your phone, which I highly recommend. It could be a computer, it could be an iPad, it can be a camera if you're not doing live video. So it can be one of many things. The second thing you need to consider or think about when you are teaching on video is your lighting. So along with something to capture the video, a video device, you need to consider what you look like. And what you want is light in front of you, not behind you. So you wouldn't want a backlit window to your back. I've actually got this little light kit here that I got on Amazon for pretty cheap. So I can post links to all these things that I have, but you don't need a fancy or inexpensive actually. You don't need a light kit. You don't need to buy anything. You can simply place yourself in front of a window or make sure that you just turn the lights on. But the third thing that you need when you are considering teaching yoga on video is audio. It's either a microphone or making sure that the recording device, like your phone, is picking up your sound in a clear and precise way. I would also be pretty confident in saying that audio is the most important of the 3 things. You can get away with pixelated, grainy video, you can get away with poor lighting, but if you don't have good sound and someone's listening to your verbal cues and wanting it to be a more relaxing, calming, yoga type thing, then it's going to be a little more challenging to retain students. So I recommend a few things. Either an external microphone or just check to be sure that you are not in a space that has a lot of echo or that your phone or your computer is picking it up appropriately. There have been so many times where my microphone actually wasn't plugged in or it was set to the internal audio and it still worked out just fine and no one said anything about it. They were just like, all right, that was a yoga class. Cool, awesome. So it's not a big deal if you don't have the fancy equipment. Now here are the recommendations or what I would share with you on these 3 things. So the video portion, again, cell phone, iPad, computer, you've got it. I do use a webcam on my computer. I like using my computer, my laptop, or my big computer because I have them for one. It's something that I own. I'm a Mac girl, so I love Apple products. So I use this iMac and MacBook Pro, and I have a webcam that I got in 2017, years ago. Had I not gotten that webcam, I probably wouldn't have it right now. I probably wouldn't be using it. I'd use something else, or I'd use just my internal camera. That's fine. If you have the latest and greatest and a phone that actually picks up video, mine doesn't, it's broken, I recommend using your phone. For audio, you've got a few options. Number 1, just using the internal microphone. If you've got a good phone, just use that. If you want to upgrade, you can always do AirPods or earbuds or Bluetooth earbuds. I have small ears, so I don't like these in my ears very much. They fall out really easily. They also it sounds kind of like you're in a tunnel, but they're really good because you can still hear your students. You can hear people interacting with you. So any kind of Bluetooth earbuds or microphone could work. If you're doing a voiceover or if you're just talking to the computer or phone like I'm doing here, you could use something like the Yeti microphone. This is what a lot of podcasters use. It's pretty inexpensive in comparison to microphones. It's a little over $100. This is also great for voiceovers. So that means you've done a yoga practice and then you go back and record audio on top of it. Say, okay, everybody, sun salutation A, reach your hands. So you would be up close to it and it picks up audio really nicely. I don't use this in my studio because it does pick up the echo if you're not right next to it. The last one that I recommend, and I always recommend this because I love it, is my microphone I have here. I've got it clipped on my shirt and I'm actually using it right now. It's got a receiver and a microphone piece. It's the Rode Wireless Go, my favorite. So I'm gonna just leave that here so it continues to pick up the audio, but I plug that onto my shirt. I clip it onto my shirt and I start doing our yoga practice, and I make sure that it's plugged into the computer or my phone appropriately so it picks up the sound, and it works. It is amazing. I love it. It's a little bit more pricey. It's upwards of about $200. So that would be something, though, I would say get started and then upgrade later. So if you're going to upgrade, the first thing I would say is a new microphone or better audio. Second thing might be a better camera. And third thing might be lighting. And the worst thing that you could do is get a bunch of equipment in the mail, look at it, try to put it together and go, okay, now what? No, use what you have to get started. The first time I filmed a yoga video, it was on my phone. The second time I used a camera with separate audio. I actually filmed my audio on my phone and did the video separately and put them together. I don't recommend doing that. It's a lot of extra work. Other times I just used my camera and the internal microphone that came with a camera that I had. So yeah, pick something and go with it. If you ask a lot of questions about what everyone else is doing, it's going to cause that decision overwhelm and decision paralysis. You're gonna say, okay, there's too many things. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna do anything, and it holds you back. So all you've got to do is push that little red button that says record and go. We're moving on from the audio, video, and lighting and into the software component. What do you need as a yoga teacher to actually get paid and teach these classes? The first thing that you will need as a software, a virtual software, to get started is a recording software, recording device or program. That could be Facebook Live. It could be Zoom, it could be just QuickTime video, it could be iMovie if you're filming right to it, it could be just your camera app on your phone. What are you using to get video? It could be a recording or live stream. There's a lot of different options. Pick one or maybe two and go with it. You might be doing Zoom and also recording your Zoom classes and then posting them later to YouTube or a Facebook group. That's what I do. You could be recording them straight up on your phone and then inputting them into Vimeo, which is a subscription sort of software that you could use, or a membership. There's a bunch of ways. I'm not going to get into all of those. You just need to have a way to record your video. The next three things are things that you should have already, whether you're an in-person yoga teacher or you're teaching online. That first one, or the second thing that you will need, is a booking software. Booking software, meaning you've got your calendar, you've got the classes that you teach, and you've got a way for someone to go in and say, I want to take this class. Here's my name, here's my email, here's my money. And bonus points if that booking software also includes a liability waiver or an intake form that your students can fill out right there. My favorite is Acuity Scheduling. It's actually what I've transferred over to use for my whole yoga studio, and I only pay $10 a month. Now, the price is actually $15 a month, but I was grandfathered in at a very low rate from the past. But still, $15 is, in comparison to some of these other scheduling and booking softwares, mind body, it's actually very inexpensive. So if you use Acuity Scheduling, or if you're looking into it, it is a way that you can put your schedule out there. You can have people click the link, or you give them a link. Here's the website, here's the link to book, to register. They click, they pay you money, and it automatically connects with Zoom if you're using Zoom, or other softwares that you can integrate with it. So it automatically connects to Zoom so that when someone books, It makes a new Zoom class and it sends them the direct link right away and a confirmation email so you don't have to do that back and forth. So if you can streamline that and put it all in one, do that. There are other softwares out there that can do that, but Acuity Scheduling, I've heard, has been one of the most popular, inexpensive, and best ways to do it. So if you find another scheduling software that does that too, that's awesome. The third thing that you will need as a yoga teacher, whether you're in person or doing virtual, is a payment processor. This is actually a lot easier than it sounds. So what you need to do is sign up for PayPal and Stripe. That's it. PayPal.com and Stripe.com. Those actually are going to connect to your booking software so that you're able to accept credit cards. The fourth thing that you will need as a yoga teacher, whether you're teaching online or whether you're teaching in person, is a way to collect email addresses. And I know this is a topic that I avoided for a long time, and many of you might be thinking that same thing, like, I don't need an email list. I've got Instagram, I've got a Facebook group, I've got all these other things. That's just one more thing that I don't want to think about. Okay, here, let me encourage you and let me just break it down a little bit. Here's the truth of the matter when it comes to having an email list. First things first, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they're all platforms. And you actually do not own any of your likes, subscribers, or your profile, or anything on these platforms. They own it. So you could get kicked off. You could get put in Facebook jail. They could just delete your account just because they, the powers that be, feel like it. You don't own any of that. You can't reach out in a mass way to your followers unless the algorithm is friendly to you and decides to show your stuff to your people. However, an email list is something that you do own. Obviously, you don't own the people, but you own the content that's on the email list. You own the ability and the rights to the privilege to be able to email your list and say, hey, here's what's coming up. And email marketing is one of the most powerful ways to market your classes and your business. Working with people that already want to get to know you is amazing and so much easier than trying to create a lot of new and crazy content for all those social media platforms. You don't need to be that social media influencer. Again, I don't want you to be. I would hate it if you thought that yoga teaching online meant you had to look a certain way or get fancy photographs. It does not mean that at all. It means that you have to show up for your students. You set down your personal life for an hour or whatever it is, and you are there for the people that are showing up for your classes, okay? So social media, as fancy and snazzy as it looks, is not what we need. A way to build relationships, to go deeper, and to actually be able to contact our students and our clients in a more professional and proficient way, that would be an email management software. Yes, you can do this, okay, in an Excel document, that works. I do recommend signing up for something like ConvertKit. That's my favorite. There's actually a free version for up to 1,000 people. There are a bunch of others out there. Again, just pick one and go with it. This is a very unimportant decision. You can pick one and then change it later, not a problem. You can always export the list and re-import it into a different system. Just pick one so that you have somewhere that you can start inputting people's email addresses into. Let's cover something beyond the technology and more so what we all need to have, and just a reminder to you, and that's liability insurance. Most insurances nowadays cover online teaching as long as you have a gated entrance, which means that people are paying, there's a waiver that's being filled out, and it's similar to that in-person experience in that way. So it's not a free-for-all Facebook Live, they're not going to cover that, but they will cover that personal one-on-one if you actually have the information of the person joining. So that's at least what I've noticed as far as insurances go. They do cover online. It just has to be in a way that someone's filling out a waiver and either paying or at least registering for the class. Where can you get liability insurance? If you are in the US or some other countries, this might be applicable too. I actually pay for Yoga Alliance because, one of the big reasons, because they give a discount on liability insurance. So I use Alliant. So on the Yoga Alliance website, you search for yoga insurance or liability insurance, and you can sign up for Alliant insurance. I think it's $110 a year, and Yoga Alliance is $55 a year. That's one option. Otherwise, this is the same as the technology too. It's just pick one and go with it. You might want the most cost-effective, or maybe you teach a different style of yoga that you want to be included. Oftentimes you'll have to request a quote from the insurance company, and they'll get back to you and say, hey, here's how much you would pay per year, pay right here, check the box, good to go. So just make sure that you are carrying liability insurance. It's usually about $150 a year to get that. Well worth it. You just don't want anything to happen. Not that it really would, but you never know. You will always want to cover all that you can cover. And now you might be thinking, but Ashley, I can't afford all that. Hold up. Let's take a step back. Remember when I said you have to treat your yoga business as a business. Your yoga teaching is a business. If you can separate your bank accounts, it helps you mentally, that's awesome. But remember, businesses include a little bit of an investment. And also, you can use what you have. Remember, you got your phone, use that. You'll need liability insurance anyway. You'll need a way to collect emails and booking software anyway. This is all part of business expenses. If you are not looking to make yoga teaching into a business or a career or a job that you are the boss and the service provider and the employee and everything, then again, this might not be the training for you. You might want to wait a while until you can teach for fun, or teach yoga in the park a few times, which is still awesome, but you will still need liability insurance if you're teaching yoga in the park or anywhere that's outside of employment. This is another reason why you should definitely charge for your classes. Do the math, see how much you would want to make in order to cover all of your expenses, and then pay yourself and charge appropriately. Some things that you do not need as a yoga teacher, which some of us maybe are overwhelmed thinking about, is a website. You don't need a website. You don't need to set up an LLC. You don't need large social media followings, or really any social media at all. You don't need fancy yoga photos. You don't need to be able to do advanced yoga poses. You don't need to get caught up in the latest social media trends. You don't need to teach loads and loads of classes every single week. Consistency is the key here. When you show up consistently week after week, people will get to know that. If you post about your yoga class one week, do it again the next week, and the next week, and the next week, and keep doing it, and people will take notice. The time is going to pass anyway. Why not use this time to build something that can keep building on itself? As a virtual yoga teacher and a virtual yoga entrepreneur in business, you have no limit to how much you can earn, to what you can do, and how big you can show up in this world. But we've got to start somewhere, and that starts with hitting that record button on what you have, that device that you have, and saying, hey family, hey friends, doing a yoga class, come join me. Thank you so much for tuning in to this yoga and technology portion of this 4-part training on how to be a virtual yoga teacher. Make sure that you stay tuned for video number 3, because I'm sharing with you the exact framework of what you need to be a yoga teacher business in the virtual space. Make sure to also share this video, share this Facebook group with your yoga teacher besties, so that we can all become amazing, confident virtual yoga teachers. See you next time. Sometimes it happens where I don't have my microphone on, and then I just don't like the audio, so throw out the recording.